The sky ripped open like a jagged wound, spilling a sickly, violet luminescence over the jagged concrete skeletons of the city. Titanox stood at the vanguard, his knuckles white as he gripped the handle of his double-bladed axe. He looked up. Two colossal eyes hung suspended in the clouds, unblinking and ancient. They did not pulse with aggression. They watched with the cold, calculated patience of a predator observing prey in a cage. The air grew dense, tasting of ozone and static. Titanox scanned his squad, his jaw set, his eyes darting between the ruins and the sky. He saw the tremor in their stance. The silence was absolute, heavier than the rubble surrounding them. Every breath felt like a struggle against a thickening atmosphere. Titanox planted his feet, fighting the urge to look away, but the pressure intensified. It was a crushing force, a silent demand for submission. He tightened his grip on his axe, the metal biting into his palms as the eyes focused downward. Something was measuring them. Pyronox stood a few paces back, his bow vibrating in his grip. The weapon hummed a low, discordant note. He watched the eyes, his brow furrowed. "This is not a weapon," he muttered, his fingers tracing the bowstring. "It is a consciousness. It is studying our heart rates, our breathing, our formation." Zapponox paced, his triple nunchakus spinning so fast they blurred into a halo of sparks. He could not stand the stillness. "I am tired of waiting," he spat. "If it wants to look, let it look at a strike." He lunged forward. But the ground buckled beneath him, a shockwave of pure gravity slamming him back. He skidded across the debris. Thornnox remained in the rear, his daggers dimming as he pressed his back against a crumbling wall. "Look at the shadows," he whispered. The darkness was not static. It pooled and stretched, mimicking the movements of the team. It was tethered to them. A second pulse rippled down from the clouds, far more violent than the first. It hit the district like a physical hammer. Every window in the surrounding skyscrapers shattered simultaneously, a cascading roar of glass raining onto the pavement. The sound was deafening, a jagged symphony of destruction that forced the team to stagger. Titanox threw his arms up, shielding his face, but the air itself turned against them. The colossal eyes in the sky narrowed, focusing with a sudden, terrifying intensity that turned the atmosphere into a solid wall. The pressure intensified, a crushing force that slammed into their shoulders. Titanox gritted his teeth, his boots sliding backward against the cracked asphalt. He fought to remain upright, but the weight was absolute. His axe sparked, the metal groaning under the strain of the entity's gaze. The handle bent, vibrating with a high-pitched whine. Titanox felt his knees give way. He hit the ground hard, the impact jarring his spine. He looked up, gasping for air. Titanox struggled to lift his head, but the air felt like liquid lead. Every muscle in his body burned, fighting a force that seemed to reach inside his chest and pull at his very nerves. Zapponox tried to stand, his fingers clawing at the debris, but his legs buckled instantly. His nunchaku clattered to the ground, the metal rings chiming against the stone in a hollow, pathetic rhythm. The entity was not attacking. It was dissecting them. It was mapping their weaknesses, cataloging their fear, and waiting for the moment their unity fractured. Pyronox dropped his bow, his hands trembling violently as he realized the truth. He looked at his teammates, then back at the unblinking eyes above. "It is not here to destroy the city," he gasped, struggling to pull oxygen into his lungs. "It is here to calibrate its next move." The pressure shifted, focusing on each of them individually. It was a cold, surgical scrutiny. Titanox felt his grip on his axe loosen, his fingers numbing as the entity probed his resolve. They were no longer soldiers in a war. They were subjects in a laboratory. The air grew thin, vibrating with the hum of the entity's intent. Every breath they took was recorded, every heartbeat analyzed, as the entity tightened its grip on their collective consciousness, preparing to discard what it deemed useless. A final, deafening silence descended. The eyes in the sky flickered, their violet light dimming into a dull, ominous gray. The crushing pressure vanished as quickly as it had arrived, leaving the team gasping in the sudden, hollow vacuum. Thornnox pushed himself up from the rubble, his face drained of color. He looked at the empty, cloud-choked sky, then back at his teammates. "We have been marked," he said, his voice barely audible against the ringing in their ears. The threat had retreated, but the silence it left behind was colder than the pressure. They were no longer soldiers in a war. They were subjects in an experiment. As the clouds began to knit back together, the team stood in the wreckage, knowing the real nightmare had not yet begun. The entity had finished its observation. Now it would return to act.